Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Monday, the 8th of September, 2014. This is episode 94. It's been 2 weeks. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. Does anyone else, whenever anyone says 2 weeks, does anyone else hear the Bare Naked Lady song go through your head? Every time. Every time I hear 2 weeks. Anyway. It's been so long because last weekend really was just, it was like 6 days of crazy. But I'm going to talk about all that at the end because it's a lot. Last week, when I was supposed to record, 2 knit-along things happened. One closed, so the Stuffies knit-along is closed. You guys, we made it to the 3rd page. Have we ever done that in knit-along before? Maybe like once. That's so cool. I loved seeing all of your stuffies. I loved the chatter. And I pulled for prizes. I pulled for prizes Tuesday morning when I was getting ready to record, and then it didn't happen because crazy. So the prizes for the Amy Eyes, it was post number 13. Philippa MC, who made a Voodoo You Love Me. It's so cute. Side tangent, I really, really love the Voodoo You Love Me. I think it's the cutest thing ever. I'm not going to knit it though, because I know me and I would want to like stab my eyes out with all those little fiddly arms and stuff. Oh, but they're so cute. I love seeing everybody's finished Voodoo You Love Me's. I'm going to try to stop moving my hands so much, but it's probably not going to work. Does it even matter? Are you watching the screen right now? I hardly ever really watch the screen when I'm watching podcasts. I'm usually knitting and doing other things. And I look up when people are like, and here's my whatever. Anyway, the winner, so Philippa, sorry, please PM me and I will get you in contact with Lucas of Amy Eyes and we'll get your prize to you. Okay, the second prize is the skein of Dancing Dog Dye Works Flamenco DK in the colorway I Believe, and it's so pretty, super pretty. Oh, and it's coming undone. I'll fix that right now. And the winner of this one was post number 54, who is Crow Julie, and she made an octopus. She actually made 2. She was the last 2 entries, and both of them were octopi, and they're super cute. But anyway, Julie, get in contact with me, PM me your mailing address, and I will get this sent off to you right away. And by right away, I mean whenever I can figure out my schedule to get to the post office, which should be easy because Gabriel's birthday is on Wednesday, and we're going out to the zoo, so I will be awake during the day and going out anyway. So if you get it to me by Wednesday, I can have it out by then. If not, I'll get it to you as soon as I possibly can. Finish or frog it. That is the next knit along happening. So if you're working on a stuffy and you didn't finish it in time, I'm not going to name any names, but I am going to say there's a fox out there. If you finish it by the end of, September? So the end of October. So Halloween, if you finish by Halloween, anything you finish between the beginning of September and the end of October, post in the thread, which I will start as soon as I stop recording. I know, 2 weeks ago I said I was going to try to get it open soon. Fail podcaster. Anyway, post it in the finished objects thread. If you started it before September, you can post 2 entries into the finished object thread. The first has to be a before you started working on it in this knit along time frame. So September 1st, if it's something that you continually worked on, or what I'm hoping this does is people pick up languishing whips. So snap a photo of where it was, so that'll be your first post, and then immediately following that will be your finished object post. So you get 2 entries for picking up WIPs. Or if you are the kind of person who is monogamous, that's kind of awesome, kind of crazy. I'm not. But if you're monogamous, so you only have one project at a time, go ahead and post your finished object. Anything you finish that's Ravelry sanctioned between September 1st and October 31st counts. I promise I will write this all out in the thread so it makes sense. There's a tag for it. It's BPHFOF14. Bunnyfish, Finisher Frog, 14. That's what it is. And then we have a prize. We might have multiple prizes, but we have one prize to start with. This is from Daisy Knits. It is the Wicked Cool colorway in the Hardy 2.0 base, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards fingering weight. So pretty. So pretty. I used this colorway to make the Strider socks. I don't remember when I made those. Sorry. Earlier this year, maybe? Maybe it was last year. Maybe that was the Podiversary prize last year. I don't remember. Anyway, that is the current knit along, and it's retroactive through starting September 1st because I meant to have the threads open. It just didn't happen. And while I'm fiddling with it, it is not supposed to be cold here today. It's supposed to be 80 degrees, but right now it's 58 degrees and the sweater is bunching up because I started slouching. So this sweater is the Reese sweater by Stephen West, and Josh, who's sort of a knitter, knit it and then gave it to me at the Zombie Knit Apocalypse. So this is my ZK14 sweater, and it's beautiful. This is what the body looks like, all this textured stitch, and it's got this beautiful colorwork yoke, and I love it. And it's perfect because it is chilly this morning, probably only for, another hour or so. But it was cold enough that I wore my sweater to take my son to the bus stop this morning because that was my job this morning. I volunteered to do it mostly because Steve was asleep. And I was like, I'll just get out of bed. You stay asleep. Okay, I'm so distracted. Finished objects. So I'm just going to quickly flash this. I finished a pair of socks. They are design socks that I don't have the pattern written up for, so I'm not going to show you the whole thing yet, but I finished a pair of socks. I also finished a couple other things. I finished spinning the Huckleberry Knits Superwash BFL in the colorway Centurion. Got about 600 yards. I'm a little disappointed. I wanted more like 650, but it was my first time really trying to spin a lace weight from 4 ounces. So it's fine. In a few places it puffed up to be more of a fingering, but it's overall a lace. It's gorgeous, and it's not for me. It's for Josh. The spin was nice. I'm really kind of disappointed that I didn't... The parts that are a little bit thicker, I could have made them thinner if I had just been paying more attention or something or whatever. But it's beautiful, and hopefully it will be useful for him. And hopefully he likes it, because I think that's awfully variegated for Josh. But whatever. I also finished my sister's sweater. So this is kind of what it looks like. And I'll get up and show you in a moment. I put in the zipper right after the podcast, when I realized all that I had to do was pockets and the bottom, it went zoom super fast. So it has pockets, and I used the want to say Armandine pattern, I don't remember, from Knitty. It'll be linked in the show notes. I used that for the pockets. So I knit this square in stockinette and then attached it on either side as I knit down. And I decided to do garter detail at the top of the pockets just because I can. And then I did garter on the bottom. And for the zipper, I did a loop stitch. So you bring, you know what, I'll just link a tutorial. It's an embroidery stitch, and I did that all the way up to make a chain, and then I did a single crochet to attach the edge of the sweater to the zipper. I really didn't want to try to mess with a sewing needle and stuff to put in the zipper. And also I figured out my row gauge. Well, not my row gauge, my garter ridge gauge per inch. And it turned out to be about 3 garter ridges per inch. And that's how many chains I made per inch on the zipper. So this is what the sweater looks like. It's super bright, and I haven't woven in the ends yet because I'm not weaving in any ends until my sister tries it on and says that it's good. I forgot to tell you, I haven't done a sweater with neck shaping before, but I hear people talk about it, and I was like, well, I want the back of the neck to be high enough, so I did a short row section somewhere around here. I don't remember where, can't tell from not looking, but you could see it, I'm sure. I did a short row section to bring up the back of the neck so that it wouldn't pull too much on the hood. First up, this is the Cloud Lover. It's 40% merino, 40% superwash merino, 20% silk in the blackberry truffle colorway. And the first half, it's 4 ounces, so 2 ounces are on my Spanish Peacock supported spindle. And I finished spinning the second half, and I just wound it off yesterday so that I could start plying today. So plying is going to happen, yay! I'm excited for this yarn to be finished. It's an experiment because this is spun woolen and this is spun worsted. So 1 ply will be woolen and 1 ply will be worsted. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. I don't know. I didn't do any research onto it and nobody said, hey, don't do that. So I went with it. I immediately started spinning a new fiber too because of course then I had my spindle open. And this is my Rogue Lucette spindle. And I only did 10 minutes of spinning because I opened up the spindle and I was like, I must spin now. So this is 10 minutes worth of spinning. This fiber is from Hobbledehoy. There you go. It's 4 ounces. It's the Shadow Walled colorway. It contains 80% merino wool, 20% Tussa silk, and it's super pretty. I'll show you this. So I'm doing it fractal, which means I split it down the center lengthwise. So I undid the braid and then split it into a long strip. And I'm going to spin the big blocks of color first, probably. It's what's on the spindle first, but I don't know if I'll do that full 2 ounces because usually I spin 1 ounce and then take it off the spindle. But maybe not. I mean, this is 2 ounces, so maybe I'll get the full 2 ounces of the Hobbledehoy on there. We'll see. And then this is the other, I broke the other half into 6 little fractally bits, and this is what the little balls of fiber look like. It's so pretty. It's so pretty, and I'm so excited to be spinning this. It's super, super soft, obviously, merino and silk, soft. Yeah, so I don't have much to say about it other than it's really, really soft. The colors are gorgeous. Oh, I should have talked about this in Finish It or Frog It, but I'll talk about it here. I have a project that has been languishing for a long time that I picked up specifically for the Finish It or Frog It knit along. And you never saw it, but I cast it on probably in February. I cast it on a really, really long time ago. So I cast on socks. I did the cuffs, which are 12 rows of knitting with, in the middle, there's a 13th row that makes a picot edge. Did that, set it aside. I knitted out of Knit Picks Stroll Fingering in Sorbet Multi. And that's what both socks looked like. I picked this up, I don't know, Thursday maybe, and started knitting a sock. This pattern is Wacla Falls by Michelle Dotson, and I'm working on a US 1 2.25 millimeter needle, and it is it's kind of modular, kind of entrelac-y-ish. Mostly it's worked in short rows. So you have this cool diamondy thing going on. It's a paid for pattern, and Lisa from Knit Two Together gifted it to me ever ago. She said it could be my new vanilla sock, and it kind of could be. It's kind of addicting. It's addicting the same way that the zipper lexicons are addicting, and the what is Josh's sock pattern called? The one that everybody made, and I made 2 pairs. Mystic Spiral. The same way that that's addictive. It's just like, this is knit in little sections, so you knit a section and you're like, oh, I could just do one more section. I could just do one more section. I'm not doing one more section because I have a lot of things that I want to make progress on, and I don't feel the need to finish anything yet this month. So I'm like, oh, I'll just do one section. Okay, now I need to work on other things. But it's super fast, very potato chip knitting, I would say. So far, the instructions are super well written out. I'm getting close, I think, to doing the heel. It gives you options for making the leg longer, but I don't need the leg to be longer. Anyway, I'm enjoying the knit. I'm enjoying the color. And did I say that Lisa gifted it to me so it could be my new vanilla sock? I think so. I don't know that I love it that much, but I do think that I would make this pattern again. We'll see when I get to the toe and get through the first pair, if I agree with that. Next, new cast on. Well, that's not a new cast on, that's an old cast on. So it would count. I could take a photo. I could have taken a photo of the cuffs. I would even allow to take a photo of this and just explain that it has started as only the cuffs at the beginning of the month. I would allow that because obviously I didn't write those rules up. And if you post anything that's posted by, let's say, the 11th, which means you'd have to watch this soon, but anything that's posted by 11th that was a work in progress and you didn't take a photo before right now, you can still post it twice. Just have the first post be an explanation of where you were at the beginning of the month. Okay, new cast-ons. I have 2. I am making the Gimli Socks by Claire Ellen. It's from the Fellowship of the Socks ebook, and I am doing the heels and toes and heels knit along with the foxes and socks. They don't know I'm doing it with them yet, but I am. I just haven't posted because I haven't posted anywhere on Ravelry really in 2 weeks or something, a very long time. So the toes are, I believe this is Knit Picks. The yarn doesn't have the ball band on it. I will have to check Ravelry, but it'll be linked in the show notes. And if it's Knit Picks, then it's probably a discontinued color. But the toes are solid. The heels will be this same color. And then the main body. Oh, you can see that cable so nicely today. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to see it because it's variegated, but you can see these cables and this cable very nicely. I have one repeat done. And the sock yarn that I'm using, I just saw the sock and got distracted, is Wisdom Yarns Endurance Sock in the colorway Redwood. And it looks like this in the cake. And it looks like this in the sock. I think that the knit along for foxes in socks is brilliant because I have a lot of Christmas socks to make for people who have really big feet. So this yarn has 437 yards in a skein. I feel like that would be cutting it close for for men's socks, you know, anybody who has larger than me feet, basically. And these are going to be for larger than me feet. I'll be doing, hopefully, another pair of socks this month with contrasting heels and toes, also for big feet. But anyway, those socks look super nice on the camera today. I'm always kind of impressed when the camera actually really shows things because most of my showing is in VKNs. Not that I VKN a lot because I work instead of VKNing now. But you can't ever see any detail because there's just not very good artificial lighting in my craft room at night. Anyway, the other new cast on, because it's Christmas knitting time, in case you didn't know, maybe not for you, maybe you're not knitting things for every person ever, but I basically am. So I have to continue on. I started, I don't know, a long time ago when I made those stinky socks for Steve. But now I'm continuing in earnest. There will be a lot of Christmas knitting. Anyway, what I am working on is Knit Picks Simple Stripes. Discontinued, but I'm going to show you anyway. And the colorway, I don't know, doesn't say. Doesn't matter, you can't get it from Knit Picks. So this is what the yarn looks like in the skein and in a ball. And I am knitting socks for Gabriel. And this is going to be, I'm using this in the Innis Knit current knit along, which I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called something like, I don't even remember. The premise is to make something that's similar but different. So mirrored patterns or inversibles work. I am doing socks that match up at the brown, but then the orange and green are inversed. I'm just making tube socks for Gabriel because I don't really want the socks to have a top or a bottom. I want them to get as much wear as possible because they're going to go to Gabriel and then be passed down to Mara. And then if they're still in good condition, they'll be passed down to cousins. So I want them to be able to get as much wear as possible. So no heels. Yeah, they can last forever that way. Basically until they're too tight around the feet, which the socks that I made him last Christmas are too tight around the feet. Like, I can get them on him, but I don't want to help him get on his socks all the time. So those ones were made with 50 stitches, and these ones will be made with, are being made with 56 stitches. That's almost as big as the socks that I make for myself. I make 60 stitch socks for myself. So I feel like these might be a little loose, but he'll grow into them. Whatever. It'll be fine. And I'm using US size 1, 2.25 millimeter needles, also same needle size for the Gimli Socks. And I'll probably do a graduated ribbing at the top of these socks too. I don't know. I'm hoping to get a lot of progress made on these socks this week because we are going to the zoo for Gabriel's birthday, tentatively, unless it's supposed to rain, which I didn't even check because that would be responsible. I can't be responsible all the time. I've been doing a lot of responsible lately. I'm not doing it today. Okay, maybe I'll do it today, but not right now, after the podcast. I have, my sock yarn blanket has suffered these past 2 weeks. I have only done 3 squares, and I've started a 4th, but as you can see, the 4th one is not finished. So that will count towards next week's total. And these are 3 squares from ZK Yarns. Very pretty, love them very much. Love my sock yarn blanket. Need to get back to it. Need to work on it in earnest if I want to have this finished by the end of the year. I mean, I'm so close. I only have 76-ish squares to go. Super, super close. Just need to work on it. I'm going to try to get back there. And I've decided, because it's holiday knitting time for me, I am not going to push myself to work on the Hexapuff blanket. I'm going to try to continue working on it, but yeah, I'm not going to push for it. So I don't have any Hexapuffs to show you in the past 2 weeks. I will get back to it after holiday knitting. And if I really, really feel like I want to make a Hexapuff, that'll be fine too. But probably not any substantial progress on that until 2015. It's okay. I knew it was going to be a long-term project, and I made a lot of progress in the time that I was working on it. Last count was 238 Hexapuffs. That's pretty good. That's a good start for that blanket. I have new things. I have a lot of new things. First, I went up to Michigan, and my mom gave me a bunch of needles that used to belong to my grandma. There are acrylic double points and some circular needles with metal tips. There are 2 sets of metal double points. Yeah. So I now have lots of double points in larger sizes. I don't know what all of the sizes are because they're not labeled. But I have my grandma's knitting needles, and my grandma had an interchangeable set of boy needles. My case is red and hers is brown, but hers has a lot of cables, which is great because the cables in my interchangeable set, several of them broke. So now I have more cables. And the needle tips that I had in the boy size that broke, she still has them. She has all of them. So that's pretty exciting because I was like, oh, I should get a new interchangeable set now that I'm down cables, and now I don't have to. I would like a set of needles someday, an interchangeable set of needles with tips that I like more, but I don't really need it. I have fixed circulars in the sizes that I use most. So the interchangeables are mostly for things like stitch holding or sizes that I don't use that frequently. So this is great. It's kind of sad that I have these needles because my grandma, she has Alzheimer's and dementia. Can you have both at the same time? I think my sister said she had both. So she is rapidly deteriorating. She can't knit she can crochet. She can't knit anymore though. She doesn't have that coordination. So my mom taught her how to crochet and she can do that just fine. So she has no use for these needles, and I do have use for the needles. I'm the only person in my family who knits, so my mom was like, well, I'm going to give the needles to Heather, and none of her siblings argued. So it's nice to have a little piece of that family history. I don't think that I have ever seen anything that my grandma knit. I've seen her knitting before, but I think she mostly did bigger projects like Afghans and stuff that live around her house. Anyway, other new things. There is a viewer out there who is lovely and so generous. Diane, you're amazing. Diane sent me a PM a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago at this point, saying, could you use more sock yarn scraps for your blanket? I said, of course, because of course. And then she said she was going to send along a prize for the podcast. So I was expecting a small package, smallish, relative. This was in my mailbox. Yeah. Are you guys ready? Probably not. So these are the leftovers that she sent, which are, a lot of them are huge leftover pieces. So there's a set of No Makers Halloween mini skeins. I'm so excited! I love No Makers mini skeins, and I always look at them and then I never get them because I just never do. I don't know. So these mini skeins. Ooh, what's this one? I'll tell you the ones that have tags on them. This is Gail's art in Dinner Mint Wonder Sock. So pretty. Bright, colorful, some red. This is a gradient. It's got purple, black, another mini skein, and another large leftover. Oops, that's not attached to that. I just thought it was. So that's super pretty. I don't know what it is, but I really like this. Like, I don't know what this colorway or this yarn is, but I really, really like those colors. I think it's just because it's Halloween, because you know how I feel about orange. But Halloween's coming up, so I really like that right now. And also, I just think it's a really pretty colorway. Like, that's acceptable orange. I think this might be my favorite that was in there. And this is a large amount of yarn. Oh, it's going to be so pretty. Knit up, I just know it. And this one's also a good one. I mean, they're all good ones. I'm not like, oh, I don't like any of these. None of these are like, They're all so pretty. Here's my misbehaving little scrap. I'll wrap that in a minute. More. And even more. This one is Penguin Soup. Shiny Falkland, which is superwash Falkland bamboo in the colorway Boo. I believe those are all the mini skeins. Okay, so this is what was sent for the prize. It's kind of a peachy, orangey color. Looks very springy to me. It's from Mean Girls Yarn Club. It is episode 5, Attack of the Horrors, in Bunny Boiler. It's very, very pretty. So I'm not sure what this will be a prize for, but it will be in the future. It's 100% merino wool. in the superwash sock base. It's approximately 560 yards for 4 ounces. Ooh, that's really nice yardage. And then, as if all of that wasn't enough, which it totally was, and super appreciated, she also sent this fiber optic yarns, steampunk gradient. It's sock yarn, so it's 80% superwash merino, 20% wool, and it's 15 mini skeins that are 30 yards each. The speaking not so good today. So there's glare, but I think that with all of the shifting, you'll have been able to see how gorgeous all of this yarn is. It goes from gray through light gray to dark gray to almost black to brown to this it's kind of orange, but not orange, more like pumpkin-y autumn orange. It's just so pretty. I love this so much. Diane, thank you so much. So much. I always look at fiber optic stuff and I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. And then I don't buy it because, yeah, you know. And this, I now have like a huge mound of mini skeins on my desk. And I was like, I love that so much. Thank you so much, Diane. It's amazing. I finished a couple books since I last saw you. So I was reading, I just started, I think, Goliath last time I talked to you by Scott Westerfeld. It's the third book in the Leviathan trilogy. Very good. I'm pleased with how it turned out. It's an alternate history steampunk set during World War I. So this is the Prince of Austria, but he doesn't have an official claim on the throne officially. And this is, his name is Alexander, and this is Darren/Dylan. She is hiding in the British Air Force, impersonating a man so she can fly, be part of the military. It's very good. This is the steampunk books where they have mechanicals, and so here's the mechanical creation, mechanical bird thing. That's the clanker side, so that's Germans and Austrians are clankers, and then this is a, what do they call it? I can't remember. Do you remember the animals? It's where they take strands of DNA from animals and mix them with other animals and plants and make these creatures to do things. The Leviathan is a huge ecosystem made of animals. The main animal of the ship is a whale, but a lot of, like 100 other species coexist inside the whale to keep the ship working properly. Fabrications. So here is a fabrication, some sort of fighting lion thing. Looks like it's got a lion head, but a more serpentine body, and maybe a shell, like a spiral shell. It's not anything that you come across in the book, so it's just a part of a sketch, but yeah, I don't know what that is. Maybe you do come across it in the book and I just don't know it. I don't recall it, but I feel like I would remember that. A lion, dragon, snail hybrid. It's very good. Highly recommend it if you like steampunk. It's a lot more younger end of young adult, so early teens, young adult, I would say. Not probably like 12, 13, instead of something like Divergent, which is more 17 type young adult. This is 4. It is a companion book to the Divergent trilogy, which I very much enjoyed. I know there's a lot of dislike toward the ending of the trilogy. I didn't like the ending, but I don't think that there is an alternate way that it could have been ended better. This book is written from the perspective of the one of the main characters, but not the narrator of Divergent. The first 2 books were written solely from Triss's point of view, and then the third one was written by Triss and 4, and this one is written just from 4's point of view. I am basically in love with 4. He could be my book boyfriend, basically. He I think that's mostly because he really reminds me of a friend from high school. And reading this book just makes me even more in love with the character, because you get to know where he comes from, and I don't know, I just really, really love this book so much. I wouldn't recommend reading it as a standalone, because they're the stories are short stories, but they directly connect. I guess the first 3, it all directly connects to Divergent. There's not really an adequate explanation of the world in any of the stories, so I don't think they'd be good standalone. But they're a really, really good companion, and I just love it so much. I love 4 so much. I just really do. I have a huge crush on 4. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So much so that I haven't seen the Divergent movie, because I am afraid that he may have been poorly cast. I don't know for sure. I don't know. But I'm afraid that the casting choice will ruin 4 for me. We'll see. So I finished that. I started reading Altered by Jennifer Albin. This is in the Cruel series trilogy. I don't know how many books are in it. I don't know how many are supposed to be in it, but this is the second book. I'm not very far. I'm only about maybe 20% into it. I'm not sure how I feel about this book yet. I think that I'm going to like it, but I don't know. Can't really tell you anything about it without spoiling the first book, so I'm not going to. I really liked the first book, and the first book, the concept is that the world is, there are spinsters who are women who are found on in their 16th year, I think it is, and they weave the world. There are threads for time, and they weave the landscapes. They can pull people out of the weave, so people just disappear. They're very powerful, and Annalise is the most powerful spinster who has come across in a really long time. She's the main character. she kind of rebels against the system. And the second book is what happens after she rebels against the system. There's a little bit of a love story. It's pretty good. It's not my favorite thing that I've been reading, but the world building is very, very good in this book. And I just think that, I don't know. I don't know why I don't love it. I think that I don't have a lot in common with Annalise, so I am not super sympathetic toward her. I think that's what it is. I think the story is fine. I just don't love the character. I don't hate her. I just, indifferent. Okay, so you have now reached the point where I will be talking about the past 2 weeks. I'm going to say goodbye in case you don't care. So I hope you made something fantastic with your 6 and string, and I will see you next week. And if you do care, here we go. Let's go chronologically because that'll be more fun for me. So I went to work on Friday and I was super excited. I told Gabriel before I left that we were going to go to Michigan when I got home from work. And because we had to clean. I don't like coming home to a messy house. And it's not like my house is dirty or anything. I clean, daily. But there's always things that could be more clean, like toys that could be put away completely and bookshelves that could be straightened. All the things that I don't really care about day to day, but it's nice to come home to them being super clean. So I told him that I came home from work at midnight and he was like, oh, we can go to Michigan now. And I was like, yeah, why are you still awake? He did not go to sleep at all. He didn't go to sleep until about 3 o'clock in the morning, which is about when I went to sleep because Steve was driving and I don't like sleeping in the car when other people are driving. I think it's rude. If you're able to stay awake on a car trip, you just should, unless it's pre-discussed that someone's going to be sleeping. So I stayed up as long as I could, and he was like, no, really, it's fine. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go sleep now. We got to Michigan around 6. I left everything except my kids in the vehicle, took the kids inside, settled them on the floor at my mom's place because my mom has a spare room, and settled them on the floor. Steve and I took the spare bed, and I think Gabriel got up at 7. I'm not sure, but I know that my mom came into the room around 9 and said, okay, the 3 kids, my sisters, 2 of my sister's kids were there, Cecilia and Kenny. They were there. She said, okay, the 3 oldest are awake, they've had breakfast, and they are watching cartoons. We're going to go run some errands. And I said, no. I rolled over and went back to sleep. Because the oldest is 9, the younger 2 are 5. I was like, okay, well, if they're watching cartoons, I don't need to be awake with them right now. Someone will wake me up if disaster happens. No disaster happened. My mom came home around 11 or so. She said, okay, well, I brought home breakfast, so when you're hungry, get up. And I made more grumble sounds at her. Steve immediately got up. I told him 5 more minutes. Rolled over, and I was like, okay. Talking myself into waking up because I was very tired. Then got up. I ran errands with my mom. One of the errands, my mom and her boyfriend had gone out to a hardware store, picked up a new toilet. Well, they thought it was a new toilet, but it was definitely not. It had been opened. The little bag of like screws and nuts and bolts was open. The seal ring was already applied to the toilet, so it was definitely not a new toilet. So we had to return that and get an actual new toilet. And then we went shopping for my kid's birthday party, which was to be held the next day on Sunday. We are hardly ever in Michigan around my kids' birthdays. I think the last time we were there on Gabriel's birthday, but my best friend's mom had just passed away and we didn't celebrate his birthday because he was turning 3, maybe. So he wouldn't have known the difference. And I was very busy helping my best friend sort out her life because she had lived with her mom. Her mom had cancer for a while. And it was just the two of them. So no birthday party that year. And subsequent years, we've been in Kentucky instead of Michigan. So we bought cake and ice cream and corn for dinner and all sorts of things. Chips. Lots of food. Came home, I sat around for a while doing nothing because that's the beauty of going to my mom's house. She lets me clean with her a little bit, but mostly she's just like, okay, go sit and read or knit or something. Go relax. I only argue with her a little bit. Then I had the concert that night, and the concert was so good. It started at 6:30. We got there late. I think we got through the gate at about 6:50, and we got into the parking lot about 6:45. I was like, okay, Amanda, let's go. She was like, no, it's fine. It's just going to be some local band opening, whatever, because we could hear the music. And I was like, well, I want to see who it is. Let's go. So we started going, and we got close to the gate, and she was like, oh my gosh, run! It was not a local band. It was one of the 3 bands who were playing. They had already started. There was no opener. So we got there, and AFI was already on the stage, which, I kind of hated to miss a band, but the 2 songs that I really wanted to hear were the last 2 songs of the set, so it was fine. I am not a huge fan of AFI. I enjoy them, but yeah, if it was just an AFI concert, I wouldn't have bought the ticket. Let's just say that. But the set was good. The 2 songs that I heard of it. Our seats were really, really good. So there's in the venue we were at, there's kind of like a pit area that's right in front of the stage. And then right behind that, there's the first set of seats. And then behind that, there's the second set of seats. We were in the first set of seats. So really close, not so close that we couldn't see the whole stage, which I find is a problem when you're in the pit. We could see the whole stage. We were really close. It was phenomenal. So the second band that went on is 30 Seconds to Mars, who my sister is in love with right now. It's one of her favorite bands right now, I guess. I don't know. She went crazy. I do not know all the words to their songs. So I only sang along with the parts that were intuitive. Jared, the lead singer, excellent showman. Excellent. If you get a chance to go see 30 Seconds to Mars, do it because they put on a great live show. Jared plays to the crowd a lot. There's a lot of crowd participation. He introduces the chorus or parts of the chorus or parts of the bridge to the audience so that there can be singing along. There's a lot of band-led clapping and stuff. It was a very, very good show. I didn't see all of it. I probably saw about half of the set because about halfway through, Jared said, okay, so anybody who purchases a CD tonight, we will be, after the set, signing every CD that's purchased here tonight. And my sister was like, do you want me to go get a CD? She was like, I don't have the money for that. I was like, do you want me to go get a CD so you can get it signed? She was like, yes, I do. The reason she didn't have money is because she bought me a t-shirt previous. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Because I wasn't going to buy my own concert t-shirt. But I would totally spend money on a CD, which I will probably enjoy because I bought a copy for myself, obviously. And it's a little, I love her so much that I will pay for her to get a CD signed by the band she's crazy about right now. Because I'm a better sister than she is. Because she would not let me meet the band that I really wanted to meet when we went to a concert my senior year of high school. But whatever. I just love you more, Amanda. That's all that means. So let's I'm going to show you some cool things. So here's my ticket. And that's where we were. DTE, Energy Music Theater. And we were in row O, which is really close. I think the pit starts like A through, I don't know, some number. Because we were only 6 or 7 rows into the pit. Or back from the pit, rather. So you spent $30, you got this CD, you got this nifty little pink wristband that you had to wear. If there was no pink wristband, you didn't get to meet the band. And so this is what the band signatures look like. Whatever. Mostly I got it signed so that I could see Amanda freak out over meeting them. And I haven't listened to the CD yet, but I'm sure I will. Mostly it was for Amanda. She freaked out. It was kind of cool to get it signed by the band, but there weren't, it wasn't like a meet and greet. It was really just, you had to have your CD case open, ready to sign. All 3 of them signed it, said, I think they all said thank you or something. They all said something, and then you walked away. It was a whole 10-second encounter for a $30 CD. Totally worth it for my sister, though. After that, went back to the seats. My sister hung out with some people. Public service announcement for anybody who's going to a concert. It's going to be a story, not just a PSA. So there was this guy who was in the seats in front of us, and the row in front of us was actually pretty empty. Like right in front of us, there were 5 seats that were empty, and the guy had one of those seats, but he just kind of moved around from seat to seat. Anyway, he was probably about our age, and he seemed cool enough. Like, we had a little bit of chat in between the sets, like when it was quiet and stuff, and then he got increasingly inappropriately grabby. A couple high fives and a couple fist bumps does not mean that you can put your hand on my hip. He did that, and I was like, no, that's not your hip, and moved his hand away. He was like, what? I was like, that's not your hip, don't touch it. And then, like, at one point he was sitting down, and he put his hand on the back of my leg, and then started, like, running it from my knee up, and I stopped it, and I was like, no. And then he, like, put his hand on my back at one point and started running it down. I was like, what are you doing? No, if you touch me again, I'm getting security. Like, who says that that's okay? I don't understand this at all. So PSA, if you're going to a concert, if you get grabby after a few drinks, maybe don't drink. Because he had a few drinks. Maybe don't drink. I mean, in no way was I, like, flirting or trying to give anyone any impression other than I really, really want to hear the music while I'm here. It's very obnoxious. And this was all going on during the Linkin Park set, which was very upsetting to me. This happened because, I don't know, he was super hardcore trying to get with Amanda, and then worst sister ever. She abandoned me. She left me alone in the seat by myself with this guy who then got really grabby. It was completely inappropriate, and I have to compartmentalize that happened so that it doesn't ruin the concert for me. But Linkin Park was so amazing. So amazing. Okay, so they're not as great of showmen as 30 Seconds to Mars. They play the crowd less, but they're obviously doing something right, because I would say for the first 5 songs, you couldn't even hear the band. Not because they weren't playing loudly or they weren't, like, their mic levels were inappropriate or whatever. There was just so much energy coming from the audience, everybody singing every word, that you could not hear the band. That is the type of concert that I like to go to, where the crowd is so into it that, like, you can feel the energy going on. It was amazing. It was completely brilliant, aside from Linkin Park being my favorite band. The audience was amazing. I love being in audiences like that. From a totally theater geek sort of way, their sound person probably could have done a little bit of a better job with mic levels toward the end of the show, but whoever designed their sets and lighting, brilliant. Their crew who did the changes, phenomenal. It was fantastic. They played, I think they played all of my favorite songs. Maybe one didn't get played, but that's fine. I have a lot of songs of theirs that I like. My sister bought me this awesome t-shirt. So this is the hunting party logo, and I have never purchased a concert t-shirt before, mostly because I've only been to about 5 concerts. And my previous concert going experiences were all in high school / college when I didn't have money for anything but the ticket. But I now have a concert t-shirt. I love it so much. Oh, it's so pretty. It was so good. It was so good. It's so good that my voice isn't back to normal yet. It's getting there, but it's not back to normal yet. Yeah, I knew there were probably like 2 Linkin Park songs that I didn't know all the words to, but I sang along to everything else, and there was much clapping and yelling and shenanigans. It was amazing. It was great. Then Sunday, we woke up. It was party day. I immediately took a shower because after the concert, it took an hour to get out of the parking lot. Like, more than an hour. We didn't even leave our parking spot for an hour because you know how things go. Everybody's trying to leave at once. So my sister, her boyfriend had driven us, and then he sat in the parking lot the entire show because he didn't have a ticket. And we offered to buy him a lawn ticket, and he was like, no, it's fine. I'll just stay in the car. So he did, and he read a book instead. Awesome. He and I had a conversation because when my sister abandoned me, she went and had like 5 beers in an hour or something ridiculous, lots of beer. So she went immediately to sleep when we got to the car, and he and I talked, and that was cool. He seems nice. It was the first time I met him, so that was a little awkward, but not bad. And then I got back to my mom's place, and everybody was sleeping, and I didn't want to take a shower and wake everybody up. So I went to sleep all gross and sweaty and all in my concert euphoria. It was fine. So Sunday I woke up, took a shower. Gabriel woke up shortly after I did, and he was very, very fussy. And I was like, what's wrong? And he was like, my cheek. So I went and I looked at him, and his cheek was swollen. And I was like, what happened? And he was like, I bit it. And I was like, you bit your cheek? And he said, yeah. So I was like, okay, well, hopefully the swelling goes down. I don't know why it would swell like that. So I gave him some popsicles to see if the swelling would go down, and it didn't. So around noon, Steve took him into urgent care because it was like, okay, so it wasn't this big, but it was quite swollen. He looked like half of a chipmunk. Took him to urgent care. Urgent care thought, of course, because of the swelling, that maybe there was some domestic violence, which there wasn't, obviously. Then they ran their tests after asking all those really awkward questions and realized that it was an allergic reaction of some sort. So a spider bite or some other bug bite. My mom lives in a very wooded area. She's in the middle of a city, but her property and the two properties on either side are pretty wooded. Like they get deer and turkeys and stuff. There's also a like a not a farm, but they like have a petting zoo and it's a nature preserve sort of thing, probably half a mile down the road. So the kids played out in the woods and he got bit by something and they gave him a steroid and told us to just treat it with Benadryl and ice packs, Tylenol if necessary. So we did. Monday, Sunday night we went to my dad's house from my mom's house, my sister and I and our kids. We went to our dad's house. That was fun. There was a little bit of a bonfire. Kids went swimming in a pool. There was a ride on, my dad has a digger of some sort. I don't know, it's got a bucket on the front. And he was like, you guys want to go on a bucket ride? And I was like, what is a bucket ride? He's like, well, you can go because they have to go with an adult. An adult needs to be in the bucket. So he took us, he put lawn chairs covers in the bucket and we rode around the yard in the bucket of the bulldozer. I know, super totally safe. That's why adult has to ride. So you can be like, no, you need to keep your hands in. It was fun. Gabriel really liked it. Mara was asleep the entire evening. She fell asleep as soon as we got into the car to go to my dad's place and didn't wake up until the next morning. I think she slept like 13 hours. Whatever. She had a really busy time playing in a sandbox at my mom's place. That is what she did. She didn't play in the woods with the other kids. She just played in the sandbox. Anyway, it was, he woke up Monday. He looked better. We drove home. And then Tuesday, we made a follow-up pediatrician appointment as we were supposed to. And that was going to be on Tuesday because they weren't open on Monday because of Labor Day. He woke up Tuesday and his cheek was back to as swollen as it was on Sunday, and it had traveled up into the lower lid, the swelling had, and we were like, oh my gosh. His pediatrician appointment was at 9:30. Steve took him to the local ER at 8. He was like, they're going to just send me to the ER anyway if I go to the pediatrician. I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, this is serious. So they went to Florence. Steve took him. I stayed home with Mara because if you don't have to have both kids going to an ER, don't do it. It's not worth it. Especially when it's the older one being treated, because when it's Mara being treated, it's fine to take Gabriel. He will sit and read a book and be good. Mara, she'll be good for a while. Anyway, Steve sent me a text saying, so they're calling Children's Hospital for a consult. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I'd been freaking out a little bit because, you don't want to, you never want to take your kid to the ER. I was freaking out a little bit, and then he said that, and I was freaking out a lot. I was frantic, and I sent Josh a text message, and he was the best ever because he was like, oh my gosh, do you want to hang out this morning? Because he wasn't working. And I was like, yeah. So basically, I sat in a hangout and cried and burbled nonsense because I was just freaking out about my kid because it was terrifying. So I found out that they were doing a consult for Children's, and I was like, I'm going to start packing things just in case. And they ended up transferring him to Children's. And at that point I was like, okay, Josh, I'm going to go. I'm going to drive to Children's Hospital because no way was Gabriel going to Children's Hospital without me. That wasn't happening. So we went to Children's. I took Mara, I brought crayons, and I brought a book for Gabriel because Gabriel didn't have anything to do at the ER. So we got there, and it was a very busy day because the holiday weekend leads to kids getting hurt and sick and all sorts of things. Answered the same questions, 10 times, and had ears, nose, throat specialists come in to check. There was no abscess, which is good because abscesses mean surgery. The swelling in Gabriel's eye in his eyelid didn't affect his eye at all. There was no pain with eye movement. There was no blurry vision, no double vision. So those were all good signs. They're like, okay, that's good. The swelling didn't travel down into his throat at all, which was good. It was all very scary. And at about 2, maybe 1, we were admitted into the hospital. We stayed overnight, which was scary. Gabriel was he was feeling awful. You could tell. The staff there was amazing though. Okay, so they had to put a shunt into his arm, and they have what's called family service associates or something. We had the best one ever. Her name was Emily. Basically, her job is to help explain the scary things to families and children and then be there when they go through it. So our scary thing was the shunt being put in. So she explained to Gabriel how it was going to go in, what they were putting into his arm, why they were doing it, so that it would only be one poke instead of lots of pokes. She was just great. Gabriel wasn't having any of it because by that point he was tired, he was hungry, he hadn't had breakfast before he went to the ER. They wouldn't let him eat after he was transferred or in the original ER because they weren't sure if they were going to need imaging or any of that, so no foods. So he was just having none of it. He was turning into kind of a brat, as children do when they're hungry. And also he was very drained because he probably hadn't slept well the night before. And all these people kept asking him questions and poking him. And we were admitted into the room about 2. I ordered him lunch finally because he was cleared for that. When we were still in the ER in the exam room, they had given him his first dose of antibiotics. They decided that he had facial cellulitis, which is swelling of tissue, basically, from an infection. They think that he got a bug bite, and the normal bacteria that lives on your skin, that's always there, the normal stuff, got into the bug bite and infected it. Started him on antibiotics. He slept. He napped through his lunch arriving, and I felt like a horrible mom because he was still sleeping. And I was like, I said to the nurse, okay, I'm going to run down to the cafeteria and to my car because I had left my wallet in the car because when I got there, I was not thinking straight. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go to the ER right now and figure out what's wrong. So I went, I got my wallet, I got some food. I got back to the room and he was very scared and crying. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't expect you to wake up. And he was like, I woke up and you weren't here. And I was like, I'm the worst mom ever. Oh, he was so sad. So I gave him a hug for a few minutes and he calmed down and it was fine. Sleeping in hospitals, not so good. Not so good because Gabriel was on an hourly check for vitals and he had meds twice overnight because he was on a 6-hour dosing thing, and it's very, very tiring. Very tiring being in the hospital. But I got a lot of reading done. Not so much knitting because Gabriel wanted me to hold him the whole time. The whole first day, and then until he fell asleep. the next morning at about 6, the ear, nose, throat specialist came in, gave him a look over, and said, okay, so he's still looking pretty good on my end. The swelling seems to be going down, so if he's still doing well tomorrow, we'll probably let you go. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. So a second night. I was looking at staying a second night. I told Steve. I told everybody else because, of course, my whole family wanted to know what was going on. And then around noon, Gabriel's team of doctors came in and they were like, okay, so he's responding incredibly well to the antibiotics. He was very active, very responsive, mostly happy. I mean, he wasn't super happy about the shunt in his arm, which they called a turtle because there was a little plastic thing over it to make sure that he didn't actually accidentally rip it out or anything, basically to keep it safe, because when you're a kid, you move around a lot. So he wasn't super excited about that or being stuck in his room because he was quarantined. Since they didn't know what exactly caused it, he couldn't leave the room, basically. And they had to gown up and everything every time they came into the room, not just wash their hands and stuff. But that's a pretty common practice there. It's for any time they don't know exactly what is going on with your child, because it's a children's hospital with sick kids, so you don't want to get them any sicker. I completely understood. He was ready to be out of there, though. He was in great mood. His face was still swollen, but it was better. And they said that if he took his next dose, which was at 2, orally and was fine with it, because it can be a little harsh on the stomach, I guess. If he was fine with it, then they were going to release him that day, which was amazing. And Steve showed up right as they were saying, oh, we're going to release you that day. And he was like, well, I'm glad that I took all that time to pack you an overnight bag. And I was like, I didn't know. That's what the ear, nose, throat doctor told me. So we only had to stay overnight one night, which was great. Gabriel is responding very, very well to the antibiotics. He looks almost normal. If you didn't know that there had been a problem, you wouldn't know that he doesn't look normal. So close to normal. There's just a tiny, like right on this ridge of your cheekbone, tiny bit of swelling, almost not noticeable. And there's a little discoloration under his eye right in the corner. But otherwise, he looks almost perfect today. He went back to school on Thursday, so he only missed 2 days of school. His teacher was great. I was in Monday night when we got home. I sent her an email letting her know that he was going to miss class the next day for a pediatrician appointment, and so that she would know. And I asked what he was going to be missing. And then when we were admitted into the hospital, I sent her another email saying we're going to be here overnight, so he's going to miss tomorrow as well. And she was really great. I asked her questions about what the policy was, like if we should send him to school because his face was swollen, would that be too distracting for the other kids? She talked to them about Gabriel on Tuesday and explained that he was missing the day and he was going to look different the next day, and sometimes that happens, so they were all ready for it. It was great. She was really great about it. And then, just a minute, big girl. And then when he went back to school on Thursday, he has a best friend, which is adorable. And his best friend had a get better present for him, which was a little toy car. How cute is that? How cute is that? So that's adorable. The teacher was great. The children's hospital staff was great. I don't recommend going to a children's hospital if you don't have to, though. They're great, but why would you go? It was so scary the whole time. Like, they didn't know exactly what was wrong, and I didn't know exactly what was wrong. All I knew was that my kid was sick, and he was worse than he had been, but then he got better when he was there, so that was good. So that's why I've been basically silent, and that's why I didn't record a podcast I drew the numbers for the result Tuesday morning when Steve took Gabriel into the ER because, you know, I was expecting him to go to the ER and that be it. Like, it'd be like, oh yeah, well, we'll just give him a shot and he'll be fine. And here are a couple meds he needs to take, sort of thing. So I did that on Tuesday. I was getting ready to record. My desk was starting to be set up, and then Steve was like, children's. And I was like, explode. It was just, yeah. Ugh. So I'm really sorry that I missed last week. But you guys know that I wouldn't miss an episode just to miss an episode. I mean, that's the first episode I have missed in almost 2 years. So that's what happened. And thanks, Josh, for putting up the thread in the group explaining that I was going to miss an episode. And thank you, everybody who commented on that thread. I know I haven't talked back at all in it because even after getting back from the hospital, then I still needed to get back to life as normal after a vacation. So that's why it's just been silence on Ravelry. But I really, really appreciate it. I read all of them, but I didn't comment on anything because, yeah, it was still crazy. I've been talking for a really long time now, so I'm going to let you go. And again, I hope you made something fantastic with sticks and string. I've got a few more rounds finished on Gabriel's Christmas socks. I will see you next week. Bye.